Red Zone Sports Anthem. Wham, bam, thank you, Uncle Sam.
Good afternoon, or good morning, or good night. Whenever you're watching, welcome to another edition of Upping the Ante in association with RedZone.bet. I'm David Jennings. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Mr. Gavin Lynch, and we're here to talk all things Cheltenham.
Correct.
Now, before we move on, Gavin,
yes,
unfortunately, we've got to move back and reflect on last weekend. And Aoife wouldn't let me into the house. My mum and dad won't talk to me. I am an embarrassment to the family. Why? Because I tipped Paloma Blue to win the Racing Post Arkle last weekend. I'm ashamed of myself, Gavin. What went wrong?
Everything.
Yes.
Didn't jump well, didn't travel well, was gone 4 out, just ran kind of lifeless, really.
It's one of them performances. It was like watching the Irish soccer team play. You're just looking for any positives. Did it jump well? No. Did it travel well? No. Did it find anything under pressure? No. Has it got any hope at all in the Arkle? For my hordes of followers that have backed it at 16 to 1.
You wouldn't back it at 50s, would you?
No, I wouldn't back it at 66 at the moment. Unfortunately, It was a bad start to Upping the Ante for myself. But the only way is up.
Lawler and Malone Road ate up well all week. So
they did. Good. Okay, so you're going strong. Okay, so obviously Paloma Blue was the negative of last weekend from my point of view, but it was an exceptional weekend of racing, and we're going to talk all things racing throughout the course of the next 15 minutes or so. But before then, Kane Calvin from our sponsors in RedZone.bet. I want you to tell us about our price boost each week, which is huge last week, especially for Malone Road. How did the boost go last week?
At Red Zone, we'll be best pricing all of David and Gavin's selections each week, and we'll keep these up throughout the week, Monday to Sunday, just to allow you maximum time to get on. Last week's selections are quite well backed with us. The 8-1 Malone Road certainly proved the most popular, and we built up quite a sizable liability on that. We also laid a fair bit of Paloma Blue for the Arkle, just before its disappointing reappearance on Sunday, so we're quite happy with that.
Oh, you're quite happy with that, Kane, are you? Well, here's one person that's not happy with that whatsoever. 16 to 1 they laid. Was it 18 to 1 last week, Paloma Blue, I think, for the Arkle? They'll be sitting very, very pretty. I'd say they should have taken all they could get on Paloma Blue.
They'll be able to sleep anyway.
They certainly will be able to sleep. Okay, so the big race last weekend, of course, Gavin, was the Betfair Chase at Haydock. I can't make head nor tail of it.
No, it's very hard to make a case for things out of it. Probably the only horse that really did his claims for the Gold Cup, and he could really, was Native River, who just ran his usual solid race. Bristol Demise 4 from 4, and Haydock, which that's no good for the Gold Cup because he's not the same horse.
Well, I'm going to put it to you, if any horse in that race other than Bristol Demise won the race in the same style that Bristol Demise won the race, there is no way whatsoever to be 18 to 1 for the Gold Cup. We could have a new Gold Cup favourite. So everybody thinks that Bristol Demise can only do it at Haydock.
Are you going to back him at 18 to 1?
No, because he can only do it at Haydock.
Yeah, I know.
Here's a quick run through the Gold Cup betting. 4 to 1 Presenting Percy, 7 to 1 Native River, 9 to 1 Might Bite Now, 11 to 1 Road to Respect, 16 to 1 Size and John, 18 to 1 Bells Hill, 18 to 1 Bristol Demise, 20 to 1 Bar. What do you make of this list at the moment?
It's a pity in ways that there's the £1 million bonus, because Bristol Demise should probably just go straight to Cheltenham to give him any chance of winning the Gold Cup, but I'm sure they'll be tempted to run in the King George. Might Bite is turning 10. It's hard to maybe forgive him for the other day, but you'll see how he goes maybe in the King George. Pat Kelly and the Presenting Percy crew will be delighted with watching Saturday's race. Native River will have to have soft ground like he got last year in Cheltenham, probably to win the Gold Cup, but it's very open. So
you know, when we were back in school and you might do comprehension, you'd have to read a prose and then answer questions. So if I was to ask you one question, what did you learn most from the Betfair Chase on Saturday? What would your answer be?
Very, very little.
No, you'd get a D+ with that answer now.
I'd be interested in Thistlecrack if he went back for a stayers hurdle, but again, that's not going to happen. Bristol Demise won't win the Gold Cup. I suppose Native River did okay.
Okay, and Stephen Donnelly on Twitter asked, what is Gavin's thoughts on the Betfair Chase and the Gold Cup after the weekend? So what I'm going to do now, this is not one of your selections now.
Okay.
But you're given a free tenner, courtesy of RedZone.bet, a virtual tenner. What would it go on in the Gold Cup?
I'd say between now and March, my weekly selection would change every week for the Gold Cup. I'd say Presenting Percy, just process of elimination, but it's very open. And
on Presenting Percy, Mick Ruttle on YouTube, some name Mick, good man. When and where will we see Presenting Percy? Not a peep out of him. Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah.
I'll take this one. He will be returning in the John Durkin Chase the second Sunday in December. 2 mile 4, obviously not ideal. But Gavin, you're fascinated by what route he might take to the Gold Cup, looking back at last year.
Yeah, well, I don't think a horse will ever again run a 3 mile 5 handicap chase, followed by the Galmoy hurdle, followed by winning the RSA. So it'll be interesting. People are going to be fascinated to see where Pat Kelly runs Presenting Percy this year before Cheltenham. If he runs in the John Durkin, will he run again maybe at Christmas or in January and then maybe straight on to Cheltenham? So it'll be fascinating.
And there's rumours of him turning up in the Irish Horse Show at the RDS, maybe jumping the big red brick wall.
Well,
The puissance, is that what they call it?
I do, yeah. Maybe he will, but
Yeah.
Pat has his own way of doing it. But I mean, he's very successful at Cheltenham the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think we've got certainly two big candidates in presenting Percy and Road to Respect on this side of the water.
Yeah.
And perhaps this is the horse maybe this year. And
He looks maybe to have improved because he bolted up in Down Royal, so that was a good start of the season. He's just going to go at Christmas and then straight to Cheltenham. He finished 4th last year. I think the ground probably went against him. Good ground would suit him because he's won previously in Cheltenham on good ground.
So to summarise then, the Gold Cup picture has never looked so blurry.
Yeah, I couldn't have a bet in it yet anyway. No
Okay,
way. It's
well,
too open.
Hopefully that will change throughout the course of the next couple of months for our expert Gavin Lynch. So now we've got a couple of questions for Kane Calvin from our sponsors RedZone.bet, and the first of those for you, Kane, is what kind of interest was there in Bristol de Mai for the Gold Cup after he won the Betfair Chase so impressively?
So there wasn't too much interest in Bristol de Mai really. The race seemed to produce more questions than answers, and we've actually taken more money on presenting Percy than anything else in the race. Saturday's winner is disappointed at Cheltenham before, and with Mike Bite running a stinker, the path seems clear for this year's novices. It's looking likely to be a very open Gold Cup.
It certainly was very open, Kane. And your second question is, who are RedZone.bet keen to take on and keen to keep on side in the Gold Cup?
So we're pretty happy to take on Native River this stage. He ran okay on Saturday, but we feel he needs a real test, and he was quite fortunate last year to get the ground he did at Cheltenham. So we go 7-1 Native River, and are happy to lay that. Another we're happy to take on is Mike Bite at around the 9-1 mark. He had some hard races last year, and we think they might have taken its toll on him. Until we see him sparkle again, we're happy to take him on. And elsewhere, we like Waiting Patiently as a potential superstar. He's second favourite for the King George, and a good run there presumably leads to the Gold Cup. We're a defensive 20-1, and we're looking to keep him on side.
Waiting patiently, yes, we certainly are waiting patiently to see Waiting Patiently, and I think he's going to have his first run in the King George, so that's going to be very interesting. Maybe he's the superstar we've been waiting for in the Staying Chase division. So Gavin, it was a big weekend last weekend. We had Politolog and If the Cap Fits at Ascot. Some good racing at Haydock as well. Anything catch your eye with regard to Cheltenham?
Not particularly. I suppose Politolog would have a bit of a chance in a Ryanair Chase. I can't see him staying the trip of a Gold Cup. He's not quick enough for Queen Mother, so he'd have a chance in the Ryanair. If the Cap Fits, looked like he was a stayer, didn't he? The other day, he looked well beat at the bend, but stayed on very well over there.
You'd rather back him for the Stayers hurdle rather than the Champion hurdle?
He'd have no chance in a Champion hurdle,
No,
whatsoever. In Ireland, it was actually quite enough. Good meeting in Navan, 2A per me. Great performance for a 5-year-old. I think it's only the second one, apart from Grudy Hill in the last 20 years. Of 138, he'll probably get 10 or 12, up to 148, 150. So he'll have to move in, possibly to graded chases now. But
could we potentially be looking at another Road to Respect?
he's a long, long way to go, but it was a very good performance. Travelled well, jumped fantastic, got pushed out at the second last bend. Yeah, he did it really well, didn't he?
I was doing the previews for the race in Post on Saturday, and I had to ring around trainers looking for quotes. In all my time doing previews, I can never remember a trainer so sweet on a horse as Noel Meade was on 2A per me.
You didn't ring me on Saturday.
I didn't, and did I back him myself? Of course not. No, so 2A per me, Noel Meade was very sweet, and he was proved right. So that's last weekend. This weekend, Gavin.
Yeah, no, this is a big weekend.
It's the big one.
Yeah.
It's Bouvardere v Sam Crow.
And Somerville Boy.
And
Bedrock.
we actually have betting on the Fighting Fifth hurdle with RedZone.bet. Even money Bouvardere, 7-4 Sam Crow, 4-1 Somerville Boy, 11-1 Applesjade, 11-1 Bedrock. Surely it's 7-4, Gavin. You've got to be taking this Sam Crow.
No.
Your thoughts on Sam Crow?
Fantastic horse, love him. I just think fence
That's not what you
3
told
miles.
me before the show. Give me your honest opinion on Sam Crow. Come on.
I do love the horse, but I just think 2 miles, no, over hurdles. I think he makes a shape over hurdle. He should be over fences, but I mean, he's a fantastic horse, and they're the owners, so I just can't see him beating Bouvardere.
You don't even think he'll finish second?
I think Somerville Boy is possibly a bigger danger to Bouvardere, yeah.
Wow, that's a big
I could even see Bedrock giving him a race, but
so you think potentially, if all these run, we know Applesjade is not going to
she
run, but if
doesn't go,
these
no.
4 run, you think Sam Crow could trail the 4 in?
it's probably harsh to say that, but I'd be cheering for him, but I just wouldn't back him in a million years against them, no.
Right, okay. You think Bouvardere is probably the most likely winner?
I do. I don't think he was the real Bouvardere at Cheltenham last year. The previous year he was brilliant, whereas this year he wasn't so good, but he still won anyway.
Well, I would love nothing better than Sam Crow to win this on the bridle. I would absolutely, it would be like the highlight of my year.
It'd be great watching. I'll have no bet in the race, but it'll be great watching.
Yeah, you know the way you're like the founding member of the Off You Go fan club?
Yes.
Like I'm up there with Sam Crow, I just love him. I love him.
Yeah.
So if he wins this, it would certainly
I
be
think
the
he'll
highlight.
need plenty of rain during the week. If it's goodish ground, I definitely wouldn't back him anyway.
I think he has plenty of pace. Time will tell, time will tell. And the Ladbrokes Trophy this weekend, of course. It's going to be a very interesting race. The one I like is Dingo Dollar for Alan King. I think he could be a Newbury specialist, and I just love this comeback run over hurdles. Anything you like in the market?
I had a small bet in Kenboy, but I'd be a little bit worried about Kenboy's jumping. He can be a little bit erratic. If his jumping stood up, literally, I'd give him a good chance. He wasn't, I don't think he was fully wound up in Clonmel. Willie was surprised that he won, so he'll improve a lot, but he would just need to jump well.
Would be a big performance to win
It
that rating and
would.
weight. And also this weekend we've got a couple of good novice chases at Newbury. We've got some good racing in Ireland, obviously, at Fairy House on Sunday. Apples Jade likely to be a short price for the Hatton's Grace.
Yeah,
likely
she's odds
winner.
on at the moment. She's probably a little bit better going right-handed. She jumped a little bit to her right at Navan, but she looked back to her best, so she'll be hard beat. And then we have the Drinmore and the Royal Bond. So
we're not going to talk about the Drinmore yet. The Royal Bond obviously could be interesting because we could see a rematch between the horses that ran for auction at Navan.
Yeah, it doesn't look the best Royal Bond in the world. No. The horse that you mentioned to me for it, we'll chat about that later on as well, but I'd probably go with the one that you're talking about.
Okay, very good. And before we move on to the highlight of the show, this week's tips, Daniel Smith on Twitter wants to know, as it currently stands today, we're the 25th of November, as it currently stands today, what is Gavin Lynch's nap of the Cheltenham Festival?
Sure, if price doesn't matter, Altior is a certainty, he can't be beat.
I don't think Daniel is going to be happy with Altior, so we want something else.
We'd have to go with maybe Tiger Roll. Is that big enough price?
Yeah, we're happy Tiger Roll, yeah.
7-2.
For the cross country once again?
Yeah.
What is going to happen when Tiger Roll retires? What are you going to talk about?
I don't know.
Do you and your beautiful wife Amory just talk about Tiger Roll over dinner?
Pretty much, yeah, most days.
Okay, so now it's time for this week's Gavin Lynch tip for the Cheltenham Festival. And it is actually, when you told me about this before the show, because we do talk a little bit before the show, we actually played golf this morning.
We did.
And when Gavin revealed his latest selection, I went, it was one of them. It was like somebody getting a 9-letter word on Countdown. I couldn't believe it.
It's a little bit out of left field. It's a big price.
It is called
Le Richebourg.
Le Richebourg. The Joseph O'Brien trained Le Richebourg for the JLT Novice Chase at the Cheltenham Festival. 20-1. A general price with a few various bookmakers, but RedZone.bet, they're going to go 28-1.
28-1.
Le Richebourg for the JLT. Make your case, Gavin Lynch.
He was a decent hurdler. He won 3 times over hurdles on goodish ground. Then he got beat a few times, so he ended up with a rating of 140. He won his beginner's chase down in Listowel. Was quite impressive. But the last day in Tipperary, I just loved the way he travelled, the way he jumped. He was winging fences. He beat Robin de Ferre, getting £6, was beat by 7 lengths. Robin de Ferre is rated, I think, 145, which is kind of a summer rating, but I think Le Richebourg ran to high 140s, maybe 150, which is a good start. I think if the ground stays quite good, I think he'll win the Drinmore against maybe Delta Work and Winter Escape on Sunday in Fairy House. So if it did happen to win the Drinmore, I think he'd be into an 8 or 10-1 shot for the JLT. And I think what's crucial to Le Richebourg for Cheltenham is that he definitely needs good ground. Now, I know we didn't get it in 2018 in Cheltenham, but generally, the JLT is the first race on the Thursday. The ground, it'll be fresh ground. It's the new track. It's the first chase on the track. So if the ground is good, I think Le Richebourg has a great chance. If you go through some of the others that are in the betting,
we mightn't get a lot of, like, Sam Crow at this stage doesn't look like he's going to go for this. Top of the game looks like he's going to go for the RSA. Faheen is going to stay over hurdles. Get a Bird could be a 2-miler. Kalashnikov is going for the Arkle. So you're into bar territory here.
Yeah, and like Black Op is a very, very decent horse. He got beat. He was second to Sam Crow and then won an entry. So he sets a good standard. But I just think at 28-1 that you're getting from Red Zone, that Le Richebourg, if he wins the Drinmore, he has to. I don't know if he's just maybe quite good enough to win the JLT, but he certainly loves good ground, jumps fantastic.
He is a fantastic jumper. As novices go, those 2 performances, I was blown away.
Particularly Tipperary. So I just think he's value. If he was 8 or 10-1, I wouldn't back him. But at that price, I think he's worth a stab in the dark.
Tell me this now, between me and you, are you going to be taking a bit of 28-1 with RedZone.bet?
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I opened an account the other day.
Did you?
Yep.
Closed yet?
No.
No? Oh, good stuff. 28-1 Le Richebourg for the JLT Novices Chase is Gavin Lynch's 3rd selection on Upping the Ante. And for those of you that want to know my selection, which is probably not many after last week's catastrophe with Paloma Blue, my selection is also a Joseph O'Brien horse. It is Rhinestone in the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. It is 28-1 generally, but RedZone.bet are going to enhance that to 33-1. The two numbers I can't pronounce. 33 to 1.
33 to 1.
33 to 1, Rhinestone for the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. And I think this horse is very much underestimated. Was undercooked going into Naas. You saw that by the market. Was a big drifter. Was only a narrow winner of that maiden hurdle. But I just think there's a serious engine there. Joseph O'Brien loves him. Anybody that's ridden him so far has fallen in love with him. To beat Sancta Simona, the good mare of Willie Mullins, so impressively by 18 lengths at Thurles in a bumper, I thought was a hell of a performance. Now, he obviously has to step up to make, and as we saw with Paloma Blue, these things can go all right, but I think he's a really, really top-class horse. I think he could go right to the top, and he's 33 to 1 for the Ballymore. I think he needs a trip, so I think that is a price that could potentially, on his next start, if he runs well and great a company, I think that
he might run in the Royal Bond. He's in the
He might.
The initial entries, maybe he won't.
He is. He might. I thought he might run last weekend in the Monksfield Novice Hurdle at Navan, but unfortunately, he didn't turn up there. I'd say the ground was probably a little bit too quick.
If you ran bad there, you'd look like a cowboy.
I would, yeah.
Rhinestone cowboy.
See what you did there, yeah. So there you go. It's going to be a great Cheltenham Festival for Joseph O'Brien. Certainly, if his horses are running as well as they are at the moment at Cheltenham, he's going to have a good week. Gavin fancies Larisburg for the JLT Novices Chase, and I'm going to go for Rhinestone, who I think could be a superstar in the Ballymore Novice Hurdle. 28 to 1 and 33 to 1 fancies this week. We can't do much more than that, Gavin.
No.
And before we finish up, we've got Paul Baker on YouTube. He said, would like to have heard you talk about Envoy Allen and his festival target. My nap would be Penn Hill for the stayers. So I'll take the first part. Envoy Allen is the pride and joy of so many in Colentra House. They think he could be a superstar. He obviously cost enough money to be a superstar. Where are we going to see him? I'm not quite sure. I think he definitely does need a bit of cut in the ground. He's a gorgeous, gorgeous horse. We saw him on his stable tour, and he could be the real deal. They think he's as good as Malone Road, and we saw what Malone Road did. But there is about 4 or 5 horses in the Gordon Elliott stable. The Envoy Allens, the Malone Roads, the 3 others that we might not just tell everybody yet. But he has got a serious amount of talented young horses. It's very exciting for everybody involved in the stable.
Because after Malone Road won, I think he was interviewed on TV by Gary O'Brien on that race, and he said, have you got a couple more like this? And he kind of smiled and said he had and just walked away, I think. So.
And I know the name of them.
There you go.
And if people stay tuned, I'm going to give them the name of one of them next week.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to ask Gordon if I can reveal the name of one of them. And if he says yes, viewers on Up in the Ante will find out one of the names of the horses that's supposed to be better than Malone Road.
I don't think it could be better, but anyway.
Second part of the question, Gavin. His nap is Penn Hill for the Stayers Hurdle. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, she's got a massive chance. Won the Bartlett and then came out and won the Stayers. And if you look at it, he won it quite easy. Super Sunday and himself fought it out. But just in the last 100 yards, he went away and he's got a great chance in the Stayers.
He's quite deceptive. Like, he's plenty of class, doesn't he?
Yeah, his jumping was a problem when he ran over shorter trips. But when they stepped him up to 3 mile, in Limerick and so on, he jumped a lot better because they weren't going as quick. So, yeah, he'd
so
have a
Paul
great chance.
Baker, you wouldn't put him off?
Definitely not. No.
No, and we're unlikely to see Penn Hill before Christmas. So he is a spring horse, really. He doesn't really.
Be interesting to see if Faheen ends up in the Stayers, maybe against him. But
it would certainly be very interesting. Yeah. So there you go, folks. That's the end of this weekend's show. If you want to get on those prices again, Larisburg for the JLT is 28 to 1 with RedZone.bet, and less likely you will want to back Rhinestone for the Ballymore at 33 to 1, which is enhanced from 28 to 1 RedZone.bet. I've been David Jennings. He's been Gavin Lynch. Thanks for watching.
RedZone Sports.bet. Wham, bam. Thank you, Uncle Sam.